Welcome to Gold Derby's Q&A panel on the making of The Bad Seed Returns, which premieres on Lifetime May 30. I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby. Now, please join me in welcoming Mckenna Grace, who stars, produces, and co-wrote the film with fellow executive producers and co-writers Ross Burge and Barbara Marshall, alongside executive producer, last but not least, Mark Wolper. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I saw the film not so long ago. I'm still getting over it. I might need a bit of therapy because it's pretty cool and it's there's a lot to unpack. Now, if anyone hasn't seen it, obviously this is just coming out, and if you haven't seen it yet and you haven't seen the first film, this is a follow-up to Rob Lowe's remake of the 1956 horror classic. Mckenna reprises her role as Emma after the shocking death of her father, and she's now in high school. She's living with her aunt and step-uncle, and things start to unravel and go a little bit pear-shaped when people start to get onto the fact that she may not be as innocent as she seems. So, first question is for the panel. Emma is back. She's more diabolical than ever. What made you all want to revisit this story after the shocking events of the end of the first film? Who would like to go first?
I'm going to jump in here because it started with me. I'm sitting at home and I get an email out of the blue from Ross and Mckenna, and they have written, unsolicited, uninvited, out of the blue, they have written the sequel to this script. My first thought is, oh no, I'm going to read this. It's going to be terrible. What am I going to say to these people? This is, I'm in such an awkward position. I read the script. I loved the script. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I called them right away. I sent it to Lifetime. Lifetime bought it. Barbara comes aboard and conspires with them. And that's how it all got started.
Wow. Barbara, conspiring with these two, what were you thinking?
I thought they did a great job with the script. I read it. I thought it was so much fun. And so I just came on board and did a little massaging, just a little zhuzhing. And I'm so pleased at how it turned out and how fast we ended up making this movie.
Wow. So Ross, where did this come from? Was it just, who was it? Was it you or was it Mckenna that said, hey, we need to revisit this story?
I don't remember who had the initial thought. I think when COVID first hit, I was working at the hospital system at USC at Keck, and everything got shut down. This was at the very beginning of COVID, and Mckenna didn't have a lot going on at that time. And we were always trying to write something together. We had already written like a different horror script, and we were trying to think. We knew that Mark was interested in doing a sequel to this, and I believe Lifetime was too, initially. So we were like, well, let's try to flesh it out. We already kind of knew where the last story ended off with her going to live with her aunt. And then we just had to form a story around that.
I think that it was my dad who probably came up with the idea. He's the smart one. He was probably, we were just like, what is something that we could write together? Because we always write together, but what's something that we could write together that we could actually get made within a reasonable amount of time, having no prior experience writing scripts or anything. What's something that we could get made right now? We're like, what if we just wrote a sequel to The Bad Seed? Wouldn't that be random? Wouldn't that be such a little fun thing to do? If we just wrote a sequel and sent it to Mark, whether he liked it or not, it'd just be fun. And then, yeah.
And here we are. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because the first film ends with that really devilish smile, which I still can't get out of my mind. And it just made sense that we needed to see more of her. Thinking about how Ross, you and Mckenna, and your mum, Mckenna, Crystal, who's off screen, wrote, you two wrote this, your mum got involved in producing this, working with family situation. I think it has its upsides because you've built in bond and familiarity with each other. I think brings you to new heights. Is this something you've always wanted to do for some time? And why was this production just a perfect opportunity for you to work together as a family?
Well, I think that it was nice because it was look at him right now. He's in an operating room, my dad. He's always working, So it was nice because it was the most time that we spent together in like ever over COVID, because we were just stuck in an apartment together for months on end. And I would say instead of like getting sick of each other, we wrote something, but we probably did. We were like a little bit on edge, everybody was, but it was nice because it brought us together and we wrote a script together, and it's fun, but also not fun writing with like family, because I feel like my mom's kind of the note giver, because we focus on it and then we give it to her and she gives us notes. But she can be brutal. She can be blunt, writing with family, it's just everybody's really honest.
And the whole family really did produce it. I mean, the producing credit is not just something that was randomly, given to them. Mckenna and the family, but Mckenna in particular was very involved with the casting. She was very involved with a lot of the production elements, the shooting schedule, how we were shooting everything. Ross, which is fantastic, ended up even being a technical advisor. I'd be constantly texting him, hey, when you get out of surgery, can you tell me what would happen if somebody falls down the stairs? What would be broken, or how can we kill somebody? And he was always there to help us figure that out. Crystal was like managing the schedule and who was coming in. I mean, it was fantastic having them as a team.
Oh God. I just think it's so cool that you get to work together in that way. I was thinking she is so unapologetically subversive and provocative in her psychology and what she's prepared to do to get her way. Was there much discussion as a team? And I might just direct this to Barbara, given Barbara's, came in a little later and then provided the zhuzhing and finessing that the script perhaps maybe needed, just an outside influence. Was there much discussion about how far you're willing to go as she becomes more and more unhinged and even sinister?
Well, first off, she had to be believable, right? Like it had to be a believable journey. But when you look at like the psychology of people with these deviant personalities, the first thing that you realize is that they present as incredibly normal. They're very charming, they're very smart, they're very seductive, and they know how to play to your weaknesses. And they're the type that will like throw a stone and hide their hand, right? So I think there was no real limit other than it had to be believable, and she had to manifest a little bit differently than she did in the first movie, because she was a child. Of course, she could get away with being, kind of a little dark, but she's so sweet and innocent looking. Of course, nobody thinks she would do anything horrible, but then, in high school, she would have to adjust her modus operandi just a little bit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. The last time I interviewed Mckenna, we talked about playing teenagers, and it's interesting that, and without making aspersions for the whole of teenage girl population on Earth, teenage girls have sometimes been given a bad rap on television and in film because, they're known to be prone to drama and, they're still finding their voice. And I think this was a really great opportunity to just turn it up to 11 and maybe use her crazy behavior as a way for us to maybe even slightly relate somehow to this person. Mckenna, I'm wondering whether that ever occurred to you, that you're playing a teenager like you are yourself. She is completely off the charts, but did that ever occur to you that you were trying to just tell a story about a girl who was very troubled?
Whenever I was sitting there and I was reading the script and I was like, my scenes tomorrow, I'm probably going to be killing some people. I don't really think that I related to her that much, but I mean, I can see that point of view. I think for me, I just really didn't see Emma as like that troubled young teen. I felt quite bad for everyone else in this script. Yeah, I get that though, but
I'd like to point out that one of the critical things that Barbara had to come in and do, which I think everyone's going to find interesting, is Ross and Mckenna wrote a script that was actually too dark.
Wow.
It was so brutal.
And one of Barbara's, the network really needed us to like bring it back a little because it was almost too dark and violent.
Wow. I can't. I also want to see that version. Maybe you should have. That could have been a lifetime late night session. But yeah, maybe one day we'll see that. But look, you know, there's some things that she does during the movie which I don't want to spoil. There's one thing in particular. I think you all know what I'm talking about. That really got me because I don't see that kind of thing very often. But I'm being a bit obtuse now. She is so fascinating. She's an honor roll student. She's meticulous. She rehearses conversations in the mirror. She takes notes about how to relate to other people. And that I found even more unsettling than some of the crazy stuff she does later in the film. Where did that come from? Because again, Barbara, you touched on this. These kinds of people come across as really, put together, calm, confident, but behind the scenes, they're anything but.
Well, if you think about Emma's personality, I think in 20 years, if she doesn't get caught, she will probably be president. But these people, they're really, really good at doing what they do. And there was a statistic that kind of scared me, but I think it said that at least 5% of people in very high-end jobs, like politics, CEOs, maybe even in the medical profession, are sociopaths and psychopaths.
Yeah.
So they are out there. They are members of our society. And there was a theory that in evolution, maybe these people are necessary because they can do the things that normal empathetic human beings can't do, like a general sending people, to a battle where they know 25 or 30% are going to die. They do serve a function in our society. So I think Emma definitely represents a very controlled, dangerous human being, but she, people really like Emma. She's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
When she's not killing people.
When she's not killing people, I liked her. I'm sorry, I didn't even want to admit this. I'm so glad you said it. I don't even want to say, I was smiling a little towards the end when she started doing things and winning. And I thought, yes, these people haven't been able to cotton onto it. Good. Yes, you do that. And I want to see that smile and that's what she does. When you have a nightmare, you wake up and you're terrified. She has a nightmare and she's like, I thought that was amazing. And you know what?
That was Mark.
That's Mark. Mark, you know what? You have 8 Emmy nominations to your credit so far. You bring such a wealth of experience to a production like this where everybody else is still relatively new. Barbara's got a few credits and Mckenna's been an actor for a long time. What do you bring to the table as the experience? Do you throw in those little things that are going to add that extra nuance? Give me some idea of what your role was in this film.
Well, when I think a producer's job is to find these people that are around me on the screen right now. You just put the right ingredients into the pot, and you have somebody like Mckenna and Ross and Barbara and the network, and it just makes everything much simpler. In this case, usually we find the material and we take it out and have to sell it. In this case, Mckenna and Ross actually brought the material to me, and then I felt like it was my job to be a shepherd to them to try to get their film made. I know, and I'm looking at them right now, that there's some things that they wanted to be a little bit different, but I'm hoping too that there are some things that they're like, okay, well, that turned out better than we thought. It's always it's a great weight put on you as a producer to try to fulfill the writers and the director, to help them fulfill their dream. And you can't give them everything you want, and you can't do everything you want, and you just try to not have to take away too much. That, I think, is the goal of the producer, is give them as many tools, as much as you can, and help them to understand that you just can't do everything. Yeah,
you're not stifling the creative process, but your input is obviously so valuable because you've been there, done that. I mean, that is such a gift to be able to bring to a production like this. Particularly, I think someone mentioned that you shot this quite quickly. And of course, we're all living in this pandemic still, and that makes things so challenging. Speaking of pandemics, Ross, you are in a surgery room right now. I'm not sure what's going on behind there. I hope there's not a person. So Um, you are obviously relatively new to writing for television, and I'm just curious, what valuable lessons did you learn or primarily take away from this process, co-writing this teleplay with Barbara and Mckenna?
I think the most valuable experience was the process of having to learn how to write something. I mean, Mckenna and I had been working on a horror script for a while. Then we were working on fleshing out like a series that we've written, like a 10-episode series of something. And then when we jumped on this project, we were like, okay, stop everything else because we can get this done. And we know that Mark and potentially the network are interested in it. Luckily, Barbara was able to come on because she wrote the first script. So she actually had fleshed out Emma's character originally. And so that was a little bit different when we were writing it, because we were kind of writing it not knowing if Mark would take this, not knowing if Lifetime would do it. So we wrote a very dark adaptation where Emma's kind of losing her bearings a little bit. And with the kind of thought process that if they didn't want to take it, maybe we could pivot and turn it into something else. But the process in me, I had to YouTube videos on how to write a teleplay because I didn't know. And I had to like look up, software to download to help me with it. And Mckenna was actually filming season 4 of Handmaids at the time. So we were back and forth when the Canadian border was open because it would close for a while in March of 2020.
Wow.
I let him figure out how to do like the script format. I helped with the story and the lookbooks and stuff, but he can figure out how to write it in the format.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, you guys are really quite new to this, and the way that the script it pans out, it's really pacey, it's taut, and I just found it so engaging. There's no fat on it at all. So really well done to the three of you for writing a really wonderful screenplay or teleplay, whatever you want to call it. I wonder, Barbara and Mark, for both of you, you've got your backgrounds are in genre. Barbara, you've worked on things like I'm just trying to think off the top of my head now, SGU and Terra Nova. I think Mark, you were on Salem's Lot, and I just wonder, what does working in genre bring to the table? Does it not matter what your background is, or do you find that actually really helps with a production like this? I'll go to you first, Barbara.
Part of the reason, and first I'd just like to say they did such a great job on the script. It's actually kind of unfair because it's their first script. I think it was my 8th that actually got produced or something. So good on you guys. Like, wow. Totally jealous, but I'll get over it. And I think the reason I actually got into genre was because you could write really strong female characters. I always felt like horror movies were like superhero movies for women because you have a female protagonist who is underestimated and has to use her wit and her wiles and her smarts to defeat the evil guy or whatever. This is kind of a bit of a twist on that, but I think definitely in my background, like this is the kind of script that I just was like, yes, I would love to get in there and do a little zhuzhing because it's what I've always wanted to write. So she's kind of like the hero of her own movie. Like she would be her hero, Emma.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Mark?
I think every film's a genre film. There's no film that's not a genre film. They're just all different genres. So you just embrace all of them, whatever they are, and the opportunity to be able to explore a lot of different genres is great. I enjoy horror because it seems to be what people enjoy to watch, and I feel an obligation to try to get out there what people want to watch. What was so interesting about this horror piece is there's so much a legacy to this piece of bad seed. Even the term that we use when we say, oh, he's a bad seed or she's a bad seed, came from the original novel from which this whole story is based on. I mean, that term was never used before this film. And, Ross and Mckenna and Barbara put a bunch of Easter eggs in the script that harken back to the last version of this, the version before that was done, the stage play that was done, the original book that was done. I mean, we even have Patty McCormick, the actress who got an Academy Award for this role, makes a cameo in our film, and her name is Dr. March, which is the author's name of the original book. There's so many circles in this whole story that it's
Don't give it
phenomenal.
all away.
But it's so smart. Like, I love it when a script can get super meta and can give us those little tidbits if you're paying attention. I just find that so rewarding. But there's something that I do want to really discuss now, and someone mentioned it earlier, and particularly how Mckenna was involved in the casting. That's so important to any production, right? You get the casting wrong, doesn't matter how good the script is. When we first meet Aunt Angela, and particularly Robert, my namesake, Michelle Morgan and Benjamin Ayres, I was immediately concerned for their well-being. I knew that we were going to have problems, and I was worried. That is very important. If we're not, especially Robert, he's such a great guy. He's so lovely. I want someone like that in my life. And I just knew he was gonna not meet a very good ending. So Michelle and Benjamin portray them perfectly. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the script and, of course, Louise's direction. But I just am really curious about how difficult and challenging it was to land on those two, because I think they're actually really important pieces to this puzzle. Mckenna, would you like to maybe talk on that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that Mark, I feel like you probably did like most of the going through all of the tapes, because whenever it was sent to my dad and I, we were like down to like maybe 3 to 5 tapes. You know, we had like the final ones and we were like going through them all, and you know, those are really important parts, and I feel like we're so lucky with the cast that we ended up with.
When you tell, we got really good talent on this, because all I had to do is say, Mckenna Grace is going to kill you, and they were in. That's all you have to say. Mckenna Grace, Emma, you're going to get a great death scene in this, and you're going to play it with Mckenna Grace. It's funny. I'm kind of joking about that, but when Mckenna is so, I don't know, she has such a recognition in the industry of being somebody that's so great and professional to work with, that other actors and actresses, when you say, oh, Mckenna Grace is going to be in this, and then you say she wrote it, and then you say she produced it, everyone's like, oh, well, we want to be a part of that. That sounds like a great tribe. That sounds like a great thing to do. It's true. I can't tell how many people go, like, the first thing I would say when I wanted an actor that I thought was going to be difficult to get, because we're a smaller film and we were shooting fast and we were trying to do it fast, as I say, Mckenna Grace is in it, Mckenna Grace wrote it, and Mckenna Grace is producing it, and they're like, wow, that's fascinating, and they wanted to be a part of that. Yeah.
You know what, Mckenna, maybe you may have to block your ears. I don't want to embarrass you. I spoke to every single person on Handmaids for season 4. And in conversation, I heard on numerous occasions how amazing you were to work with. You are so young, and yet you have come so far. And by the way, I have kids, they're 13 and 12. When they knew that I was talking to Mckenna Grace again, it was like as if I was talking to the Beatles. So let's just put that out there. Absolutely. Now, she
may be a Beatle soon. She is singing. She is.
All right, Mark, I'm going to put you on mute.
And that's real testament to Ross and Crystal as well. I mean, you have to nurture your children in anything they want to do to follow their dreams. You're also helping her and supporting her professionally. Ross, I mean, how important is that for you as a father and also as a collaborator?
It's, a tremendous testament to my wife, Crystal. She's there with Mckenna all the time. Unfortunately, in pursuing medicine, I spent a lot of times as a part-time dad, and Crystal was a full-time mom trying to help navigate all this while she had a medical career as well for a little while. And somehow we both rubbed off on Mckenna, but in the right ways. And she's a very colorful, creative individual that's just continuing to blossom. I don't know if I can claim any credit in her acting abilities. She always laughs or cringes if I try to run lines with her or go over anything like that. But really, it wouldn't matter anything that I wrote or contributed to this script if it didn't have her name attached to it. No one was going to look at it. And then, if Mark hadn't been looking to do a sequel to this at some point, or the network had no interest, and then if Barbara hadn't written the first one, And if she didn't come in and change it from a myopic dark tale and give it flavor and flesh out all these accessory characters, then we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's so true. Absolutely. Barbara, a villain's fun to write. I mean, there's a scene in the film, which I won't obviously spoil, but it's about where somebody cottons on to the fact that there's been a lot of unfortunate coincidences with this girl. What's going on here? And then it ends maybe quite badly for that person. That is so sinister in the way that she just manages to get her way. Is that really fun to write, or is it actually really challenging to write because you don't want to go too far, not too far in terms of it being confronting, but too far because it might end up becoming like parody almost of someone who's evil? Talk me through that balance.
Yes, it is very fun to write characters who are evil, but she's not evil. She's not a villain in her story. She's just, people are attacking her and doing things that she does not like. And so she has to solve the problem because that's what she does. And also it's very easy because having seen, the Bad Seed 1 and just knowing McKenna's range, having followed her career, huge fan of Handmaid's Tale, by the way, like huge, favorite show. I just kind of knew that you could write anything and it would be done well. So it was very freeing actually to know that it was already cast and to just have all this freedom to just, and once again, I was just in there to judge. I wasn't in there to wildly rewrite this. It was just to kind of bring up what was already there. And it was delicious. It was so much fun. So much fun.
So then I'm talking about how the script is structured, McKenna and Ross. It starts off at a certain point, which I was alluding to earlier, probably to me, the most disturbing part of the film. And then it goes back. And I love it when scripts do that, because then I'm really curious to know how we got to this turning point in Emma's story. Was that a light bulb moment for you guys, and how you decided to start there, then go back and then tell the story?
I can't remember offhand, but it might have been Barbara who pulled that scene from. Oh, that wasn't. Oh, that was.
You guys did a very good job.
So much has happened.
I know.
The weird thing, and I'd love to know Barbara's opinion on this, because when you write a character, it's like it's in your head, and it's hard if someone else originally created that. But the original tale was a nature versus nurture thing that was studied in psychology classes for years. And this is a little bit different than I think in Emma now. She's not this sociopath that kills for pleasure, like when you read some things about serial killers or watch these documentaries. But she's more of a sociopath in the sense that she doesn't feel empathy or sympathy, no remorse. She's just different. People don't have that meaning to her. And that's where we talked about the mental disorder aspect of this. But in this, she is in a good place. And it's only when her livelihood that is about her, she's the central focus and the main character, the hero of her own narrative. So it's when people threaten that, she's just very reactionary, like what Barbara was alluding to. She has to solve a problem. And she's not always the one who creates it. So when people come in, her solutions are a very sociopathic solution where people don't matter.
Yeah, because they're getting in her way. And and she's a survivor. Let's be honest, she's been through a lot as well. What was a great touch is the use of social media and the use of the internet. She's still a girl. She's not like a fully grown adult who's been through all kinds of traumas for 20 years. She's a kid. And I love that touch as well, because it kept reminding me, hang on a sec, yes, she does bad things, and I feel bad for her step uncle, but she's still a kid, and she's trying to work out what's a psychopath. Is this me? And maybe I might take a quiz, or maybe I need to start texting people. McKenna, was that an element of the film that you enjoyed injecting into the screenplay?
To me, really, with playing Emma, I just feel like she's trying to pretend to be that. That's
Right.
what she wants everyone to see, because she's out here killing people, so it's like I felt like that was really funny, seeing her take a quiz, am I a psychopath? It's like, didn't you put a beehive in someone's car and kill them last film, and your dad's dead, and it's like you think, but it's really funny getting to watch her do that. But I mean, that's what's interesting about this film, is having Emma as a teenager now and seeing how she has to like navigate the social settings of a normal teenager and try to figure out how she, as what she is, like fits into that without disturbing the peace, and figuring out how to like mold herself into it and get the social like standpoint where she's a part of this group, but she's not like the popular one, but she's here in a comfortable like middle ground, and just like figure out where she wants to be and whatever the social ladder is.
Yeah, the hierarchy. That's right.
It was probably also important that she had to ramp it up in this movie too. She had to be a little more unhinged, you know, a little scarier, a little more threatening. Kind of, if she remains unchecked, like where's she going to go from here?
Yeah, good point. You know, when, for example, when she doesn't get dance captain, I was like, oh no, this is problematic. Oh sheesh, you know, like what's going to happen now? I mean, am I a psychopath? Well, you did set someone on fire in the first film, so as Mckenna said, like I think that's probably the clue right there. You know, Mckenna, when we first met, we were discussing your role on Handmaids, which we've alluded to earlier, and your role as the capricious and calculating Esther Keys. You said, and as we mentioned, that playing a teenager is already hard enough, let alone a teenager who's been so badly abused and mistreated. So that begs the question, this is a different type of teenager who has different issues. She has serious mental health issues. What is it about this dark material that attracts you? It seems to be that's, you know, you've done lots of other kinds of roles, but that seems to be something that you're really good at and that you're really keyed into. What is it about that you love?
You know, it's funny. I'm working on a set right now, and I'm working with Anna Paquin, who was also a child actor, which is funny. We were talking, and we were like, you know, it's funny. She didn't learn how to ride a bike until she was in her 20s, and I only learned how to ride a bike over COVID because I had nothing else to do. And we were like, you know, it's funny because we never really played like the happy like friend group coming of age film teenagers. It's always the like teenager or young girl that has so much heavy trauma. And you know, I don't know why I'm always drawn to these roles, but I don't know. Like Emma's this film is like it's fun and it's interesting to play a character like Emma. I mean, whenever it comes to Esther Keys, she's a deeply, you know, abused and traumatized young woman who's stuck in this place, stuck in this Gilead, you know. But whenever it comes to Emma, she's I don't know, I don't really view them on same like area, because to me, Emma, you know, she's a psychopath. And yes, she does have her fair share of traumas, but it's interesting because it's like, what does affect her? What is she feeling affected by? Does she feel remorse for what happened to her father in the last film, or did everything go according to plan? You know, I think that she loved her father, but to an extent, it was a necessary, I liked you, I enjoyed our time together, but you've become a problem, so I'm just gonna take you and put you all the way over there.
That's it. And the same thing goes for Robert, the stepfather, and I'm not spoiling anything, but it's like she's presented with a problem and she has to solve the problem, and it's as simple as that. And that, I find that really unsettling. It's really great.
I mean, Emma, I feel like she enjoys things. She has emotions-ish. She likes her aunt, she likes her father, but it's just, whenever a problem is presented, if you're going to cause immediate harm to my little bubble and my space where I am here and enjoying my time here on earth, you just gotta. You got it.
Yeah. We gotta just
out of here, man.
remove that obstacle.
Yeah.
Before we go, I have a couple more bad seed questions, but while I've got you, Mckenna, obviously you will always, for the time being, be known as Emmy nominee, Mckenna Grace. And when we talked, it was before the nominations, and we were hoping it would happen. It did. Can you recall the morning of when you were with your dad, Ross, your mum, Crystal? What was that like when you found out, yeah, you are nominated for an Emmy?
Well, I didn't think I was going to be. I don't know. That wasn't really anything in my mind. I didn't, I knew that I was somewhat contending, but I was like, my name's kind of on predictions and stuff, but that's like not something that would happen. And like we had turned on the little Emmy announcement stuff just because. And I was actually in Louisiana shooting a Disney Plus film. I remember everything. I was in my school trailer, and I was doing one of my other castmates' art homework because they didn't know how to draw, and I wanted to do it for them. So I was like, let me do your art homework, man. It'd be fun. And I was sitting there and I was doing it with my mom, and my dad was in California on his way to work, and he was watching it too, right? You were watching the Emmy nomination.
Oh yeah, I was like driving on the way to work.
Yeah, you were on the way to work, and you were watching
video.
It because my mom and I were sitting in the school trailer as I was doing that, and right before they announced, like my category and stuff, it cut out on ours, and we were like, shoot, darn, I wanted to see who was nominated. Dang it. And so we just like sat there and kept on doing stuff. We were like, wouldn't that be really like weird or funny if I actually was? Wouldn't that be kind of crazy? And then my dad calls me and he's freaking out. He's like, oh my God. And we were like, wait, shut up. No, that's not true. And then like we started crying, and then my dad was like, yeah, it is, because he was the one who saw it, because ours disconnected for some reason.
That's so cool.
And so, we were all talking together, even though I was in Louisiana and that he was in LA. It was really nice. It was crazy.
Yeah, that is amazing. One day
he
when you were...
he ended up getting to take me. My dad will take me to
Oh,
award
that's
shows,
lovely.
but
Even
it was
better.
really cool.
Yeah.
And then we had Papa John's that night. It was overall like
even
10
better.
out of 10. 10 out of 10 day.
I'm usually not allowed to take you because I'll forget everything. I don't know where she's supposed to go, like who she's supposed to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. When you're super old one day and you're in a rocking chair, I hope you remember those moments because they're special. Final question for the panel. My favorite line, now I'm paraphrasing, is something like this. The world is full of psychopaths. That's why there are so many podcasts. It is so really true. It is so true. I'm really hoping that means that we will maybe see Emma again one day. What's the likelihood that you might want to re-team and take us back to her story? Because I think there's plenty more to say about this lovely lady named Emma.
Wait, we're going all the way. This is going to happen every 3 years. By the time we're done with this, she's going to be killing people in her retirement home.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes.
Although the fact that she got an Emmy nomination now is going to be much more difficult for me to get her to come back and do another one.
We're even going to answer your calls.
Mr. Mark. I mean, do we got to start on the next script?
Yes, you do.
Yes, we do. We have some ideas. We'll share them with you.
Okay, good. I really think that there's more to come. And, I'm actually thinking about maybe getting involved because, Barbara, your idea about the president thing, I want to see that. I want to see like a West Wing meets Bad Seeds 7. And it'd be like in 2050 and she's running and she wins. I mean, we've kind of seen that already. So, I think that's going to be super exciting. Guys, thank you so much for your time today. I had a ball with this film. I hope everyone gets to see it ASAP when it's on Lifetime. It's a really fun, incredibly unsettling, well-made film, and you all should be super proud of what you've achieved here. And again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Memorial Day. Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
Thank you. Have a good one.